This question comes to us from Sam Yeager, and he says he's having some trouble, his back's hurting him, and his Pilates teacher says rather than initiating the rotation in his body, rather than doing it with his hips, he should do it up here and feel it more in his around up in here. And I would say, okay, that's actually better. This whole deal about get to the top and then fire and open your hips, I mean, that's a way to make a swing, and that can semi-help sometimes work, but it puts a lot of pressure in your lower back. So personally, when I hit a ball, and I've talked to Nicholas about this and a lot of players, I don't even feel my hips turn. Okay, so what I feel, and it would play into a little bit of what you're talking about. Here's what's interesting about physiology. When people feel different things, I mean, I could tell you the muscle firing pattern because the kinematic sequence is correct. And it pretty much happens in everybody, but what it looks like and what people have to feel like to make it work is very different than the sequence itself. So just because you know the firing patterns and the order doesn't mean that's how it's going to translate for someone. You know, right now our industry is all hooked into all the biomechanics and what's doing what and when it does it. And I'm going, okay, you're right. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how people are going to feel it. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned about this whole thing in the last 35 years is that the science of what's happening and the feel that people have when they do it aren't hardly ever the same. So when we talk about fire your hips, first of all, I hate that because what starts happening is your hips get so much quicker than the club. Now, if you time that, you can kind of create some speed with it. And if everything kind of works, you make it work. But my deal is always about the club itself and the momentum of it. So when I go back, my right leg is pushing my right hip back out of the way. And when I come down into the ball, my left leg is pushing my left hip out of the way. Now, do my hips turn? Sure they do. But I'm not trying to turn them by twisting with my lower lumbar spine. This leg pushes this back, this leg pushes this back. So when I swing, people go, well, your hips are turning. I go, yeah, they are, but I'm not trying to turn them. See, I'm not forcing my pelvis to rotate. So what I would tell you is anytime you start trying to force your hips to turn and the rotation of your hips gets too far ahead of this, you're going to put a lot of pressure and it's going to be hard to catch the club up consistently. Can you play that way? You bet you can. There's been a lot of players that have done it and got away with it. But for most people, that's a very, very hard, complex pattern to make work. And even if you do make it work, you're putting a lot of pressure on your back and it's really hard to control the distance the ball goes. That's what happened to me. I worked on that for a long time, shallow in the shaft and twisting, and what would happen is, yeah, I'd create speed, but I couldn't control the speed. So what would happen, I'd hit my driver a long ways, which was fine. Didn't matter if I hit my driver 280 or 360. Okay, it's in the fairway. But I'd take a 7-iron out, and all of a sudden I was planning on it going, say, 165, 170, and go 175, 180. Where's that ball? Over the green, out of play. So what starts to happen is, from an injury perspective, it goes up, and control of the distance or speed is hard to do. So I would tell you what she's saying makes sense to feel like it's in here and let your hips follow, or feel like this leg pushes this hip out of the way, and as the club's coming through the ball, this is what you feel. It's not the reality, because if you put me on a video, it isn't going to look like this. But I feel like I go here, and I start down, I feel like I get right there, and from here, as the club's going through the ball, it feels like my left leg is pushing my hip, and it feels like my hips are turning just like that, right with the club. Now, if you watch it in full speed, it doesn't look so much like that. It's my point. You know, we've gotten trapped into what something looks like and what you feel to make it work. You know, that's the biggest thing I've learned in 45, 50 years of doing this. Golf swing's invisible. What you feel and what you see aren't necessarily the same. So for sure, you want to take pressure off your back. Your Pilates teacher's on track there. Give it a try. If it helps you and you feel better, do it for sure. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for regular updates and tips. Thanks for watching.